Hello and welcome to the show with me, Jillian Godsil. Now, today we're going to go a deep dive into DeFi and to explain DeFi and how they're making it very accessible and user-friendly for retail traders in particular. I have the three co-founders of Meta Labs, and I'll start off with the CEO, Daria Yakovleva, if I'm saying that correctly. Daria, could you explain a little bit about your background, please?
Yeah, so I have a programmer background, and we with Valery and Nikita study in the same university. We participate in kind of competitive programming contests and so on. So yeah, we are all programmers, and me also. Before the crypto, I did some machine learning tasks. I work in VK, it's a Russian social network. I had internship in Google. So yeah, some machine learning. Also, I'm a PhD student and do some research in machine learning. But now I come to crypto because guys tell me a lot interesting challenges here. So now we are here.
Perfect. So coming from a deep technical background, but enjoying the challenges here. So Valery Cherepanov, if I'm saying that correctly, CTO, and I know you're all co-founders, so you do many tasks, many roles, as you said. Tell me a bit about yourself, Valery.
As Daria mentioned, we are all software engineers, and we all have a little bit of a competitive programming background back in the high school and university days. But I spent basically all of my career in Google. I've been intern twice, and I've been full-time employee for 3 years or so. Mostly I was working on software for engineering productivity and developer tools. And I've been in crypto since 2017. There was like a huge bull run, and it was in every like TV program and stuff like that. And I was trading a little bit, but at some point after the crypto winter, I lost interest. But I was back about 2 years ago, and DeFi was a hot new thing, and I participated in like different DeFi things. What basically was a DeFi GJ for quite a while. I have like more than 1,000 manual transactions, and I always wanted to build something, but it's a little bit hard to start like alone. It's just psychologically hard mostly.
So you teamed up with Daria and Nikita. Nikita Gorhub, if I'm saying that correctly as well. Again, many roles, co-founder of Meta Labs, many roles, communications, maybe one of the key ones. What is your background, Nikita?
Oh yeah, it's pretty the same, like competitive programming. It gave me a lot because my first job was also in VK, that is like Russian Google, and I was implementing like really fast and quick databases for processing a lot of data in the social media. After that, yeah, I had 2 internships in Google, which were really cool. I was also doing infrastructure stuff. Then I worked in Yandex, which is like Russian Google, I would say. Then I've been to 2 startups, like small ones. One was about AI, and another one was about 3D modeling of the different rooms and houses. It was fun, but not for me. And my last job was I was developing a non-custodial wallet for businesses. It was actually really interesting. I learned a lot about how blockchain works inside, about cryptography, and at some point I became a team leader, and it was fun. But then I understand that, I can do it like all by my own. We need to create our own project. Why to work for somebody if we could do something really cool by ourselves? So in crypto I'm also since 2017. Also bull run, also lost some money, also crypto winter, also was back 2 years ago, also participating in DeFi. And yeah, this participation in DeFi, it gave a lot of food for my mind, like to understand what we could create. So yeah, now we're here, and yeah.
Okay, so you both all three of you come from a technical background, a lot of Google in there, I hear, and wanting to build your own, having experienced the bull run in 2017, and then the crypto winter where people are starting to build. And as you said, Valery, building together is much more powerful than doing it by yourself. It's much better to have a triumvirate than a single person. So you all got into crypto, you all got into blockchain. And Algorand is where you landed. And I see that last year you launched an NFT collection of 3D avatars on the Algorand blockchain, and you won the Algorand Innovative hackathon. Why did you choose Algorand?
So there are a few reasons for this. One reason was technical. So we've been studying different blockchains from the technical perspective, and I've been also following some not famous ones which are still in development. And we found that Algorand is very solid tech, and at the same time, like it's in the point when it's like getting there. So a lot of blockchains are either in development or they are following the Ethereum path and they just use EVM. So it's always the same. Ecosystem grows quickly, but everyone uses the same language, there are the same services, and Algorand was one of the few which did not use EVM and had their own stack for development. And just from fundamentals such as decentralization and TPS and many parameters like this, Algorand was looking very good. We have a quite interesting article. I mean, it was very popular at some point when we do a comparison with different blockchains, and we found that most of the leading ones, such as, for example, Solana or Ethereum, they all have some significant problem. For example, for Ethereum, everyone knows it's just a bit slow and it's really expensive, especially when there is a lot of things happening if the gas is high, and a lot of blockchains have problems with decentralization. Famous one is BSC. They have like 15 validators or something like that. So it's basically Binance chain. It's even called Binance chain. And Solana has some problems with decentralization as well, because they require very expensive validators, and you can't just run it from your PC. And some others have either problems with security or maybe some shady events in the past, so we can't really trust the team. So Algorand just hit that sweet spot. It was like pretty good in all dimensions. And so this is a technical perspective. And once again, if you want to learn more, please read our article. It's quite in depth. And another reason was just market analysis. We were starting actually with an NFT collection, which was MetaPunks. And we just looked at, we just did some market analysis, and we found that, like, again, most blockchains is very small, or they have like a very fierce competition. So if you're launching on Ethereum, there are thousands of NFT collections on Ethereum. And in here, from the market perspective, Algorand hit the sweet spot as well.
Okay, so good tech, good team, well established.
I would, if I can add just a bit, because I was actually really impressed by Silvio Micali. Like, it's like our idol. I was really impressed that, he invented like this ZK proofs, and after that, like, his students created like Zcash. So, and I thought, if his students can create something as cool as Zcash, then what can this man do? And so, yes, this pure proof of stake is a really cool tech. In my opinion, it's like one of the best techs in all blockchains, because it's really a true decentralization. So, yeah, tech is beautiful.
Well, I think you're singing to the converted, because Silvio has a huge reputation, certainly, and it's nice when you have a blockchain where the main protagonist is well known, well respected, and none of this anonymous stuff. He puts himself out there. Okay, so you chose Algorand. You approve it both because of the team and the tech. And then maybe I'll come to you, Daria. This new project, Cometa, the sustainability liquidity aggregator on Algorand. So tell me, what exactly is Cometa seeking to achieve?
There was a long way for us to understand our vision and what we want to build. We started mostly from the user experience, because we saw all project on Algorand, all DeFi, and it's kind of complicated for newcomers. So the first our idea was to build one-click DeFi. To build DeFi is easy understandable for a grandmother, for example, right? But also we want to change DeFi to make it more sustainable And that's how we come to the liquidity as a service idea. So the liquidity as a service in the short term for like, I don't know, DeFi experts I would say it's like yield farming killer. So we just want to help projects that have their own token to attract liquidity, because liquidity is an important part for the project if you have a token, because you want to exchange your token and don't, and have a low volatility, for example, for the token. And also we want to help users or investors and provide them profitable and also low-risk investment instrument. On background, we build a lot of tech and risk management and stuff. On the front end, what users see, it's really easy to use interface and just provide your tokens, see all the statistics, and get the tokens back. So that's what we want to achieve. I think we want to combine the hard tech and the speed of Algorand and the super tech infrastructure with the great user experience.
Yeah. Which is the holy grail, really, isn't it? Of what, I mean, DeFi, I was saying to you before we started recording, DeFi is working well, but it's very hard to use for many people. And CeFi proved a great, boom. And then until it wasn't, people realized, oh no, it's not smart contracts, it's people. It's still the same problem that we had in 2008. Okay, so you're looking at your UI and using the very strong tech of Algorand behind the scenes. So I was looking through your website, and it said, comparisons with ordinary yield, you have the possibility of impermanent loss. Can you explain that for me and how you provide protection against that on Cometa?
Yeah, sure. Basically, there are two parties involved in liquidity as a service vaults, as we call them. There is one party which we call liquidity seeker. It is some project which desires to acquire liquidity and starts a Cometa vault to reach this goal. And another party is liquidity providers. It can be anybody who have native tokens, in this case, Algorand, or maybe stable coins in some cases. They can just provide liquidity and receive some yield on it. And usually, people use liquidity mining, or also called yield farming, to achieve the same goal, to achieve liquidity. But in this case, liquidity providers have to buy both tokens and be exposed to both tokens and also exposed to impairment loss. And it's like pretty hard concept for most people, and it's hard to calculate. So it makes liquidity provision much more complicated concept. But in liquidity as a service, we, as you said, we strive to protect liquidity providers from impairment loss. And we are not the first protocol who are doing this. There were many and still exist many. For example, Bancor does this as well, despite they had, it didn't work quite as they wanted. And most protocols, sorry, it's a bit like long background. Most protocols, they're trying to do it by basically socializing loss. So if some pool has some impairment loss, it will be covered with what boils down to the protocol treasury or some protocol income. And usually it works fine. But in some extreme cases, when the market takes a large downturn, it just doesn't work. And it is what happened with Bancor, actually. They just disabled their impairment loss protection at some point. And in Cometa, we have isolated risk. So we have impairment loss in each pool, and it is not connected. It's not connected to other worlds. And basically, it is liquidity seeker who has to pay for the impairment loss. How does it work? He just have to pay at the end of the pool. But of course, it's DeFi, and we cannot force them to pay. But we have their tokens, which they provided on their side, and they act as a collateral. So if they don't pay, we just start an auction, collateral auction, when we sell the collateral, and so up to the point when all impairment loss is covered. And in most cases, like something like 98% cases, just historically, it is enough to cover 100% of impairment loss. And of course, there are some rare cases when, for example, a hack happens and it just goes to basically zero and we can do anything with that. But in general case, it just works.
Okay. And you were explaining before that in ordinary yield, you have to hold you're exposed to two assets. You only have one asset that's exposed in your liquidity as a service model. It's cheaper than to incentivize liquidity. How is it cheaper? How does that work?
Well, there are a lot of factors, but the simplest way to explain it is that when you're doing liquidity mining, you just have to pay people to provide liquidity. And you have to pay them a lot because they're exposed to two assets, they're exposed to impairment loss, so it's very risky for them, and you have to pay a lot to cover their risks. And in liquidity as a service, it's much more predictable because you have impairment loss protection and you have only one asset exposure. That's why you have to pay much less, or maybe you even don't have to pay at all. You just basically give your trading fees to liquidity providers. So liquidity providers receive all trading fees, and it doubles this amount compared to direct liquidity provision, and it can be enough. And even if it's not enough, you pay much less because it's much less risky.
Okay, half the risk of it.
I also loved Valery's explanation before that in liquidity mining, you just pay some amount of money like to attract liquidity, but in liquidity as a service, you pay exactly the amount that is needed to cover impairment loss. So it's like maximum capital efficiency in this case, because you don't need to pay more. You can you truly understand how much you need to pay to cover losses, and that's why it's.
Okay, that makes sense. And Daria, you were saying earlier about one of the problems you're trying to solve is the whole idea of ease of use, the UI. So I noticed that in some of the features you have like this, it's compounding automatically. You don't have to figure it out; it does it for you. One-click investment and locked pools. So how easy is it to use? What does it look like?
It's really easy. So we already launched yield farming on mainnet and Algorand. You can just go to our website and try it for yourself, anybody who see us now. And so we have three main feature currently. It's ZAP, compound, and locked pool, as you said. So the locked pool, it's more for the project. If project wants to attract a long-term sustainable liquidity, we provide a locked pool. So in this case, all liquidity locked for a couple of days, and only after that, users can get the rewards for that. Compound, so user get rewards, right? Because they provide liquidity. And if they want to automatically invest the rewards back to the pool, before our service, they have to go to another service, manually convert tokens, come back to our service, manually add liquidity, and also made another kind of receiving rewards. And with Compound, they just click one button, we prepare the all transaction in one group, and they just confirm it. And ZAP feature, it's the same way. So if user want to add more liquidity to the farming pool currently, before the Cometa, they have to go to another service, swap the token, add their liquidity, and come back to our platform. With Cometa, we just do all routine work, prepare the all transaction, and make it simple.
It does.
So you have just try, and we're happy to any feedback. Go to our Discord if you feel that something hard for you, so we can explain or update our service.
So do you think Cometa will help people who are interested in DeFi but have been too nervous to go near it because it seems too complex? Do you think it'll encourage them to use DeFi via Cometa?
You know, DeFi is still a hard field, right? It still have to understand some basic knowledge. Our current goal is to help traders to optimize their time, right, to something more important. But in the maybe year perspective, for sure, we try to add more, how to buy crypto, right? How to transfer crypto to other blockchain to ours. And after we optimize all the steps, all the user flow, maybe it also will be easier for the newcomers to use it.
Okay.
Yeah, and you also know, currently, sadly, because Algorand is so secure, we cannot implement something like auto compounding, which is present on our another chains. So we only have compound button, but we try to come up with some creative solutions. So, for example, now we're going to release a bot for Telegram and for Discord, which will monitor your positions in the pools, and it will remind you to compound your rewards like for some periods of time. So you will be able to set up how often do you want to compound, or to ask the bot to tell you when to compound, when it is like the best API you can get. So like and with this bot, maybe it will be easier for people also, because like it will be friendly bot who will tell you like, oh, please, maybe you want to compound, here's the link. So yeah.
So for retail traders, you're going to make it much easier for them to optimize their time and their return. And then for projects, you're also helping them, aren't you? So for projects, people aren't going to be, I saw some of the news that a lot of people who use DeFi use it, it's very commercial. They're in and out in like 24 hours. But if you provide locked in periods of better returns, you'll have more stability, I guess, in people. Is that what you're offering projects?
Right, but I just want to be clear that we have two projects on Cometa. The first is yield farming with the features, and the second will be the liquidity as a service. So the stage 0 and stage 1, just to separate it. But you are totally right.
And then
sorry, and extend it a little bit in the stage 0 yield farming. We are fighting mainly with a lot of manual tasks. So you have to do through a few different websites, click a lot of buttons, and it's like quite confusing, especially for newcomers. And even for professionals, it just takes a long time, and it's really annoying. And with liquidity as a service, we are mostly fighting with another problem, is that it's just, for example, yield farming, it's complicated to understand. There are two assets, there is impairment loss, some rewards, so you need to really think about it and learn a lot. And with liquidity as a service, it's much easier to understand. There is just one asset. Basically, it's similar to deposit. There is some slightly different risks, but similar experience.
So where are you on your roadmap now?
We launched our yield farming, I think 2 weeks ago on the mainnet. We have 250 TVL, $1,000 TVL currently. And we are going to launch liquidity as a service on testnet on early October. And after that, we'll go through audit, where we have to verify that our contract is secure. And I think we'll launch liquidity as a service on mainnet by the end of this year.
Wow, it's amazing. If people want to find out more, where's the best place to find you?
Cometa.farm. There is all links to our social network, to our LinkedIn, and to our white paper also.
Oh, actually, one question I meant to ask, a final question. You're also going to launch your own token at some stage. How will that work, and what advantage will it be for people to buy it?
In fact, we already launched that, but you can think of it about like test launch, because we had an NFT project before that, MetaPunks, and we were committed to giving back to the community. And we promised to have some NFT staking, and we did it. And there are still staking in forms of airdrops. So we already have a token, but it's only 2% circulation roughly, and it's only for community right now. And in the future, the main thing about the token, there are two things. The one is governance, which is super standard for every project these days. We are going to have DAO, and people will be able to vote on decisions about Cometa protocol. And another reason is that we are going to do buybacks from the market, so it's a direct way to share fees acquired in the protocol with holders.
Okay, interesting.
But it's to be honest, it's not 100% finalized. We have distribution, like how we are going to distribute tokens with a pie chart and unlock schedule. But about the usage, there will be definitely governance. But about like profit share, we are not exactly sure how it will look, and it may be a little bit different because there are many ways to do things like that, and we are also very careful about regulations, so we don't want to do something which is going to be illegal, basically.
That's fair enough. And we'll go back to your original point. I love the Cometa.farm. I love the fact you're making it simple for people to use it, for retail traders to use it, better for projects so they can protect themselves and their tokens. And it sounds very interesting. I wish you every success, and I encourage people to go and check out Cometa.farm. Thank you very much for your time today, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.